Around the world, organized crime syndicates and street gangs wield immense power, shaping economies, controlling territories, and leaving a trail of fear and violence in their wake. Welcome to our deep dive into the top 5 gangs in the world. From the blood-soaked cells of maximum security prisons to the bustling streets controlled by cartels, these groups operate like underground empires. In this series, we'll explore their origins, the key players behind them, their operations, and the shocking crimes that have cemented their infamy. Each gang on this list has a unique story, built on violence, loyalty, and power. And today, we begin with one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. Let's get started. The Aryan Brotherhood, often referred to as the AB, began in 1964 within the walls of San Quentin State Prison in California. It was founded by a man named Barry Mills, a notorious criminal mastermind. Mills, often called the Baron, played a pivotal role in shaping the gang into the ruthless organization it is today. But who was Barry Mills, the man who gave birth to this violent empire? Barry Mills was born on May 7, 1948, in Windsor, Colorado. Growing up, he seemed like any other small-town boy. But beneath the surface, Mills harbored a dark streak. His childhood was marked by petty crimes and run-ins with the law. By the time he was a teenager, it was clear he was destined for a life of crime. Mills's criminal career took off when he was sentenced to San Quentin. There, he found himself surrounded by racial tension and gang violence. The Aryan Brotherhood emerged as a response to these conditions, a white supremacist gang designed to protect white inmates. But their protection came at a bloody cost. Today, the Aryan Brotherhood has an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 members, both inside and outside of prison. Despite making up less than 1% of the U.S. prison population, they're responsible for up to 30% of all prison murders. The AB operates primarily within U.S. prisons, but extends its influence to the streets. Their criminal empire includes drug trafficking, extortion, arms dealing, and murder for hire. Oh, how does the Aryan Brotherhood make its money? The gang thrives on the drug trade, extorting other inmates and running organized crime networks outside of prison walls. The profits funnel back to the gang's leadership, often referred to as shot callers. These individuals control operations even from behind bars, using coded messages and loyal members on the outside. Over the years, the Aryan Brotherhood has committed some of the most high-profile murders in U.S. history. One example is the assassination of black inmate Kenneth Walton in 1997 at the Lewisburg Penitentiary. The hit was ordered by the AB leadership to send a message to rival gangs. In another case, the AB orchestrated the 1983 murder of 2 black inmates, John Clay and Robert Chappell, at Marion Penitentiary. Both men were brutally stabbed over 40 times each in coordinated attacks. Barry Mills himself was implicated in numerous murders and conspiracies. In 2006, he and other leaders were convicted in one of the largest federal cases against the AB, aimed at dismantling the gang's power structure. Despite decades of crackdowns, the Aryan Brotherhood remains active. Their operations have expanded to include partnerships with Mexican drug cartels, increasing their reach and influence. Today, the gang continues to operate both inside and outside prison walls, evolving with the times but staying true to its violent roots. Next up, we're diving into the notorious story of the Bloods, one of the most infamous street gangs in America. With a history steeped in violence and rivalry, the Bloods have left an indelible mark on the streets they call home. Who founded the Bloods? How did they rise to power? And what crimes have defined their brutal legacy? Let's take a closer look. The Bloods were founded in Los Angeles in 1972 as an alliance of smaller street gangs seeking to protect themselves from their biggest rival, the Crips. The Bloods' creation was a direct response to the Crips' dominance, which had been spreading across south-central LA since the late 1960s. The Bloods were co-founded by Sylvester Scott and Vincent Owens, who led the Piru Street Boys. a gang that would become the first blood set. Sylvester Scott grew up in Compton, California, a city plagued by poverty and racial tension in the post-civil rights era. His childhood was marked by hardship, and by his teenage years, Scott had turned to gang life as a means of survival. Vincent Owens had a similar story. Both men understood the power of unity in the face of the Crips' aggression. Today, the Bloods have an estimated 20,000 to 25,000 members across the United States, with sets in cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. Internationally, they've expanded their presence to Canada, the Caribbean, and parts of Europe. Each blood set operates independently, but they all share a common identity through their red colors, hand signs, and codes. Their operations include drug trafficking, robbery, extortion, and illegal weapons sales. The Bloods generate millions of dollars annually, primarily through the drug trade. Individual sets control their own finances, but the money often funnels up to higher-ranking members who oversee operations. Unlike some other gangs, the Bloods don't have a centralized leadership structure. This decentralized model makes them harder to dismantle, as taking down one set doesn't cripple the entire organization. The Bloods' biggest and most infamous rival is the Crips. This rivalry has fueled decades of violence, particularly in Los Angeles, where it's estimated that thousands of lives have been lost in gang wars. One high-profile example of blood-related violence was the 1994 murder of musician Lloyd "Mo" Jones in Compton. Jones, a Crips affiliate, was targeted in a drive-by shooting orchestrated by a Bloods set. Another notorious incident was the 2006 murder of actress Stephanie Bennett in Atlanta. She was caught in the crossfire of a gang dispute involving Bloods' members. The Bloods' reputation for violence extends beyond their feud with the Crips. Internal conflicts and disputes over territory have also led to brutal killings. Despite ongoing law enforcement efforts, the Bloods remain a powerful and active force. Their influence has grown beyond the streets, with ties to music, fashion, and popular culture. However, their criminal activities continue to devastate communities. Today, the Bloods operate in a complex web of loosely connected sets, each with its own leaders and territories. While some members seek to leave gang life behind, the cycle of poverty and violence ensures a steady stream of recruits. Next up, we're exploring the violent and ruthless world of MS-13, also known as Mara Salvatrucha. This gang's reputation for extreme violence and international reach has made it one of the most feared criminal organizations in the world. Where did MS-13 come from? How did it grow into a transnational criminal empire? And what crimes have shocked the world? Let's uncover the bloody history of MS-13. MS-13 was founded in the 1980s by Salvadoran immigrants who had fled their country's brutal civil war. Landing in Los Angeles, these young immigrants formed the gang to protect themselves from other established gangs, such as the Bloods and the Crips. One of the key figures in MS-13's rise was Ernesto Deras, a former guerrilla fighter from El Salvador. Ernesto Deras brought military tactics and discipline to the gang, using his experience from the war. Born in the 1960s in El Salvador, Deras grew up during a time of political unrest and violence. His childhood was marked by poverty and exposure to armed conflict, which shaped his future as a gang leader. Today, MS-13 boasts an estimated 50,000 to 70,000 members worldwide. While they're strongest in Central America, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, they also operate in the United States, Mexico, and even parts of Europe. MS-13 is notorious for its brutal tactics, including machete attacks, extortion, and human trafficking. Their motto, kill, rape, control, is a chilling reminder of their violent mission. MS-13's wealth comes from extortion, drug trafficking, and human smuggling. In Central America, they control entire neighborhoods through fear, collecting protection money from businesses and residents. Next up, we're exploring the Yamaguchi-gumi, the largest and most powerful Yakuza syndicate in Japan, with a reputation that spans decades and continents. How did the Yamaguchi-gumi become the most dominant organized crime syndicate in Japan? Who founded it? And what role does it play in the modern world? Let's uncover the fascinating and shadowy history of the Yamaguchi-gumi. The Yamaguchi-gumi was founded in 1915 by Harukichi Yamaguchi in the port city of Kobe, Japan. Originally, it was a small labor union for dock workers, but it quickly evolved into a criminal organization. Harukichi Yamaguchi was born in 1881 in the rural Hyogo prefecture. Growing up in poverty, he worked various jobs before moving to Kobe, where he saw an opportunity to organize laborers and protect them from exploitation. While Harukichi Yamaguchi's early efforts were focused on labor disputes, the group began engaging in illegal activities to expand its influence. Over the decades, his successors transformed the Yamaguchi-gumi into a massive and sophisticated criminal enterprise. Today, the Yamaguchi-gumi is estimated to have around 8,000 to 10,000 active members, making it the largest Yakuza syndicate in Japan. At its peak, the group boasted over 20,000 members. The syndicate operates primarily in Japan, but its influence extends internationally, particularly in Southeast Asia and the United States. They're involved in everything from drug trafficking and money laundering to gambling and construction fraud. The Yamaguchi-gumi generates billions of dollars annually through legal and illegal enterprises. Their legitimate fronts include real estate, entertainment, and construction companies. These businesses often mask their more nefarious activities. The group is highly organized, with a strict hierarchical structure. At the top is the kumicho, or boss, who oversees operations. Regional leaders report directly to him, ensuring that profits and influence flow upward. The Yamaguchi-gumi has faced significant rivalries, most notably with the Sumiyoshi-kai and Inagawa-kai syndicates. These conflicts have led to violent turf wars and assassinations. One infamous incident was the 1985 assassination of Kazuo Taoka, the third boss of the Yamaguchi-gumi. His death sparked a brutal power struggle within the syndicate, leading to a wave of killings. Another high-profile case involved their role in the Kobe earthquake recovery of 1995. While they provided aid to victims, it was seen as an attempt to gain public favor and mask their criminal activities. In recent years, the Yamaguchi-gumi has faced significant crackdowns from Japanese law enforcement. Anti-Yakuza laws have made it harder for the syndicate to operate openly. However, the group has adapted, focusing on cybercrime and white-collar crime to maintain its power. Today, the Yamaguchi-gumi remains a powerful force in Japan's underworld, but its influence is waning compared to its peak in the 1980s and 1990s. Despite this, their legacy as the largest and most organized Yakuza syndicate endures. Last up, we're exploring Nuestra Familia, a notorious prison gang with deep ties to organized crime both inside and outside prison walls. How did Nuestra Familia begin? Who are its leaders? And what crimes have cemented its fearsome reputation? Let's uncover the story behind this powerful prison gang. Nuestra Familia, meaning our family in Spanish, was founded in 1968 in the California prison system. Initially, it began as a group of Chicano inmates who banded together to protect themselves from the Mexican Mafia, also known as La M. The gang's founders were agricultural laborers from California's Central Valley who resented the Mexican Mafia's dominance and its favoritism toward urban Southern California Mexicans. This cultural divide sparked a brutal rivalry. One of the key early leaders was Robert Bebo Sosa, a charismatic figure who helped unify the group. Sosa grew up in a poor, rural community where he witnessed firsthand the struggles of farm laborers. By the time he entered prison, he was determined to create a group that would stand up for those who felt marginalized. Nuestra Familia has an estimated 1,000 to 2,000 members, with thousands more associates. While the gang's power is rooted in the California prison system, its influence extends to the streets, especially in Northern California. Members of Nuestra Familia follow a strict code of loyalty and discipline. The gang's constitution, a written document, outlines its rules, with severe punishments for those who disobey. Nuestra Familia generates its income through drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. Members on the outside funnel profits back to gang leaders in prison, ensuring the organization's operations continue seamlessly. Leadership is highly organized, with a chain of command that includes generals, captains, and soldiers. Even from behind bars, the gang's leaders orchestrate operations using coded messages and trusted intermediaries. Nuestra Familia's fiercest rival is the Mexican Mafia. Their feud has led to decades of violence, both in prison and on the streets. One high-profile incident occurred in 2001, when Nuestra Familia orchestrated the murder of 5 associates of the Mexican Mafia in Salinas, California. The killings were carried out as a warning to rival gangs. Another notorious case was Operation Black Widow in the early 2000s, a federal investigation that led to the indictment of 22 Nuestra Familia leaders. Despite these setbacks, the gang has continued to thrive. Nuestra Familia remains a dominant force in California's criminal underworld. While law enforcement has made significant arrests, the gang's decentralized structure and ability to recruit new members make it difficult to dismantle entirely. Today, Nuestra Familia's reach extends beyond prison walls, with street-level operations that continue to impact communities. Their influence is a stark reminder of how deeply rooted gangs can become in both urban and rural areas. From the violent beginnings of prison gangs like the Aryan Brotherhood and Nuestra Familia, to the sprawling empires of MS-13 and the Yamaguchi-gumi, and the street wars ignited by the Bloods, these organizations have shaped the world of organized crime in unimaginable ways. These 5 gangs are more than just criminal organizations. They're reflections of deeper societal issues: poverty, inequality, and the struggle for power. Each of them has left a devastating impact on the communities they operate in, and their stories serve as a sobering reminder of the human cost of organized crime. Yet, there's hope. Around the world, governments, law enforcement, and grassroots organizations are working tirelessly to dismantle these syndicates and bring justice to those affected. The fight against these gangs is far from over, but with awareness, education, and community support, we can begin to address the root causes that allow them to thrive. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the dark and dangerous world of organized crime. If you found this series insightful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, stay safe, and remember, knowledge is power.